I'll be going through question 6, 7, and 8 in this video. Question 6, Aini has 2,245 bottle caps. Maggie has 1,462 bottle caps. Now we are looking at two different people. They have different number of bottle caps. So what we can do first in our model, we could draw a simple comparison model. Aini has a longer model because Aini has more bottle caps than Maggie. So you can label your model. (2,245) and 1,462. Now, after losing an equal number of bottle caps during a game, so the key idea here is that they lost an equal number of bottle caps. If Aini lost 1, Maggie would have lost 1. If Aini lost 10, Maggie would have lost 10. But the next part helps us. It tells us that after losing the equal amount of bottle caps, Aini has 4 times as many bottle caps as Maggie. So at the end of it all, how many units does Aini have? Aini has 4 units. So if they lost the same number of bottle caps, which is the red shaded part, the number of units Maggie left would be 1, because Aini has 4 times as many bottle caps as Maggie. So Aini would have 4 and Maggie would have 1 unit. With this, you should be able to find out the number of bottle caps Aini lost during the game. Now, another way of looking at this question is, after we read the same question, we can always draw the part that tells us how much is left. After losing an equal number of bottle caps during a game, Aini has 4 times as many bottle caps as Maggie. So for some of you, you would prefer to draw after first. Aini, 4 units, and Maggie, 1 unit. Now, but this piece of information is not totally useful. We need to also add in the part that says equal number. So if Aini lost this much, Maggie would have lost the same number. Aini, Maggie, and then you can label your model. You should be able to find your answer. We worked on questions like question 7 many times. Now Anne ate half of the jelly. So imagine Anne has a jelly. She ate half of it. Now Wilson ate 2/5 of the remainder. So the half that has been eaten by Anne, and this half here is what we call the remainder. Now what do we do with this remaining part? It says Wilson ate 2/5 of the remainder. That means the remainder is being divided into 5 equal parts. And Wilson ate this part. So I'm just going to write W for Wilson. If the jelly that was left, so if Anne ate half, Wilson ate this bit here, what is the remaining? It is, according to the question, what is left? And do we know the mass? The mass is 270 grams. But if we look at this question, we realize that the units are not exactly the same. This is half, which is 1 huge unit, and these are 5 small units. What can we do to make them equal? Now, question 8 sounds really complicating because the question is really long, but it's not very difficult. Now, 39 pupils from a class were lined to welcome visitors to a school concert. So imagine the hall and 39 kids lined up to welcome visitors. So this is child number 1, and this is child number 39. And in between, we have everybody. Now, from the first child to the second child, how far apart were they? They were lined up in a row from one end of the corridor and an equal distance of 1.7 meters apart. That means the first child to the second child is 1.75. Sorry, looks awful. 1.7. Let me write it again. 75 meters apart. What about from the second to the third child? This is the third person. Again, it is 1.75 meters. How do I know? Because the distance is equal distance. So how many gaps are there up to the 39 person? Let's try to make a list and find a pattern. If there was only one child, would there be a gap? No. But if I have 2 children or 2 pupils, there will be one gap. And this gap is 1.75 meters. If I have 3 children, you want to look at the diagram that I have drawn above. How many gaps are there? 1, 2. There would be 2 gaps. What's the distance? 1.75 meters times 2. Do I need to keep drawing? I could if I've got a 4th person, 4 children. How many gaps? 3 gaps. What's the distance? 1.75 times 3. So if I look at the pattern, it will be 2 children, 1 gap. 3 children, 2 gaps. 4 children, 3 gaps. 5 children, 4 gaps. What if I have 39 children? How many gaps would there be? I hope you got 38 gaps. And to find the distance for 38 gaps, it would be 1.75 meters times 38. So what is the meaning of this information? This information tells me from the first child here to the last person at number 39, that is the distance. The distance is the gap, 38 gap space. Okay? Now the second bit of the question. On the day of the concert, 3 pupils did not turn up. So how many pupils turned up in the end? If 3 pupils didn't turn up, they ended up only 36. And as a result, the remaining pupils had to line up from one end to another end of the corridor at a new equal distance. So the red distance is the same, but now I've got fewer children standing in between. So what was the new distance? Now, if you don't know how to do the second bit, I will need you to at least find out what is the distance from the first to the 39th pupil, because that's the distance they need to cover.